problem. I'm going to change that. No, just a second. There we go. Okay. Okay, so first of all, outside of Rick possibly having broken ribs, how are you doing?
Good, actually. Your homework was very interesting, I have to say, for me in the last couple of
Why?
weeks.
Why?
I've realized, like, okay, so something I don't know if I've ever told you or not. I have dyslexia,
Okay. Yeah.
and my brain is a constant on, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but with the exercise that you got me to do, the whole don't filter myself,
Mm-hmm.
I've found a lot less anxiety in conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not overthinking that,
Yeah.
and I'm not stressing myself out.
Yeah.
I'm also finding the conversations that I'm having
Mm-hmm.
are different than what I was associating, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
I I've always sat and like the constant narration in my brain has always been like, this is what it is, right? It just is what it is. Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily everybody has the narration that I've got going on in my brain, and I didn't realize to the extent of what it is because it's different conversations with different people, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense to you, or
Mm-hmm.
different energy. And I didn't pinpoint that
Mm-hmm.
until you got me to do this. It
Right.
is
Well, the
a
other
lot.
downfall, yeah. Well, the other downfall that you had too, though, was that because you were diagnosed with dyslexia, you were taught that there was something wrong with you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely 100%.
And as much as dyslexia is a reading disability, it's treated like it's a communication disability. And so what you got to understand is as a kid, you were taught that your communication skills are disabled,
Yes,
that
absolutely.
you're disabled, right? And so, one thing a lot of people don't understand is that when you're exceptionally intuitive as a child, you get diagnosed with a lot of disorders,
I can
right?
see that.
Because you don't fit. Because you don't fit, right? They tried to test me for dyslexia too, because I am such a fast reader that they could never actually understand how I was processing and what's the word? Lose my mind. What's the word I'm looking for? Comprehending. That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh,
Jesus,
yes,
lose my
yes,
mind,
yes.
right? But for me, it was that everything in my intuition is super fast, right? Like
Hmm.
I see people's lives flash before my eyes, like, or in the back of my eyes, in my head, like a movie screen, and I watch their entire lives unfold in 30 minutes, right? But I've watched it unfold in the first 5, and then I put it all together and pull the puzzle pieces out and, decide what I'm going to share and what I'm not going to share, right? So
Yeah.
my brain functions really, really, really quickly. It functions so quickly that it's tough for the average person to comprehend what it is that I'm doing, right? So they just assumed I couldn't read.
Yeah, something's got to be wrong.
Something's got to be wrong, right? So we don't often realize that the things that, and this isn't just in your intuition, this is in everything in life. We don't often realize that the things that we've been taught and told as a child will absolutely affect our entire lives. It will affect everything in our entire lives, right? And so, just that you can understand, being diagnosed with dyslexia was why you're actually so careful in how you communicate in regular life, but also when you're in a session, right? Because you're thinking you're supposed to process everything. You're thinking you're supposed to stop, wait, listen to what it is you're going to say, see if it makes any sense, make sure you're on track. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Absolutely. You had said to me one day that I look for roadblocks and not solutions.
Yeah.
I've spent my entire life doing that because if it's easy, obviously I'm missing something
Mm-hmm.
because it can't be easy,
Right.
right?
Because you
And
were taught your
that's
whole life that life isn't easy.
right. And I
Right.
remember my mom sitting me down all the time going, remember, if it seems too easy, you have missed steps. Go back over it until you find that step you've missed.
You
So,
know, I hear that from people. I've heard that from people for 34 years, that when it's easy, it means something's wrong. And I don't know if, hmm, I don't know, because I'm sure I was told the same thing growing up too by everybody. Um, but I don't know if this was one of those lessons that I just didn't take on, that just didn't make any sense to me, so I wasn't going to own it, or if it was my dad, because I keep hearing him right now.
Yeah.
But I always had this belief system that the only reason life isn't easy is because we don't let it be, right? And that in actuality, like if you think about life itself, it's actually pretty easy. You go to sleep, you go to bed, you go to sleep, you wake up, you go to work, you you come home from work, you make dinner. Like it's not like the things that we do on a daily basis are complicated, right? But people that have made the wrong choices in their life. And when I say people that have made the wrong choices, I mean all of us, because there isn't any of us alive that have made all the right choices. But when you live your life making those wrong choices and convincing yourself that they weren't your choices and that you are stuck living the life that you have because of other people, that you didn't have any control in your life and other people made all those decisions and choices, and it's because of other people that I'm where I am right now. Okay, when you live that way, life definitely doesn't feel easy, because nothing about what you do in a day is easy, right? And it's because you're not living it on your terms, even though you've actually made all those decisions and choices and you just haven't accepted that for yourself, right? So when something goes smoothly, because you're so used to attracting and creating things that are nothing but problems, when something goes smoothly, it becomes a warning bell. And the truth is, it's actually the opposite. Okay, when things aren't easy is when your warning bells should be coming up, right? When you're having to force yourself into a scenario, to push yourself through a door, right? Like if you look at it like, if you look at it like a different area of life, okay? So, you have a home and you lock it at night, right? Your family's all in the house, so you lock the door and you guys are curled up on the couch watching TV, and someone's trying to get in your door and they keep trying to, right? Someone on the outside is trying to get into your locked door and they keep pushing it through. What's that called?
Resistance in that.
It's called a
It's
break-in. It's called
oh, okay,
fucking
yeah.
illegal, right?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying there. Yeah.
In, right? If you're trying to push yourself through something that isn't open, you're breaking in. You're not walking in, you're breaking in.
That's the whole difference between the doors being open and not being open.
The entire difference between an open door and a closed door, right?
Yeah.
I don't stand and bang at a door that's locked. I refuse to. Because if it's locked, they either don't know I'm coming, in which case I'll call them and tell them that I'm here, and they'll come open it, or they don't want me there. Either way, I'm sort of not a sucker for punishment, and I'm not interested in trying to force my way into somebody's home,
Yeah.
right? So I'm certainly not going to force my way into life. Doesn't make any sense, right? One of the things I told you when we first got to know each other was becoming Canada's top clairvoyant is the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. Easiest thing I've ever done in my life, right? And the reason that it's the easiest thing I've ever done in my life is because it's what I was supposed to do. And I was doing it for all the right reasons. Okay. And let's be honest, putting a piece of paper on a mailbox was a whole lot easier than going and applying for jobs, hoping I might get one, feeling like I'm lucky if someone thinks I'm, intelligent enough or capable enough to work in their office.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was certainly easier than going off to school and getting student loans, and a lot easier. It was a lot easier, right? I don't do things that are complicated. If I've got to push myself through a door, I'm not welcome. period, right? If everybody on this planet could just register and realize that if you got to force yourself through, you're not welcome. It's that simple. It's just that simple. You got to push yourself through, you're not welcome.
That makes
Right?
sense.
Because life is in fact easy. Okay? Our decisions, our choices, the things that we let happen into our life, that we choose even though we say we didn't choose, is what makes things complicated.
Yeah, that's you really really drove that with me with my mom when I was trying to push
Mm-hmm.
so hard with everything and nothing. It was actually destroying what I was going to have left of a relationship. And when I
Mm-hmm.
stopped pushing and just allowed myself to be where she allowed me to be,
100%.
it was good. Everything was
100%.
good.
Everything was good. And you got to enjoy the last moments with her,
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah,
What?
and I wouldn't have if I would have done
Yeah.
it the other way.
And it's everything in our life. I pushed myself to get into when I was younger, I pushed myself to get in the condo I thought I wanted, when I was still young. And there was nothing but issues with that condo. And I got like 20 eviction notices in 9 months I was there. And I paid my rent on time every time, right? Like it was nothing but hassles, right? When I would go to try to buy property that didn't just come to me, because you of course know my history,
Hmm.
people actually give me properties, for Christ's sake. I don't even buy them. By the time I've actually taken them over, they're in my name. I didn't even know they were mine, right? Like, because of how I manifest, life is so easy.
Hmm.
But when I go to try to, like, I can give you an example. Brian and I fell in love with a house in Irkana years ago. Fell in love with a house in Irkana, and for the life of me, I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. I've never been turned down in anything in my entire life, but couldn't get this house to save my soul. And we had like, and I don't even put money down on properties. Like, I won't even put money down on a house that I buy. We had literally half, 50% to go down. Still
Holy
didn't
shit.
qualify, right? Only to find out a year and a half later that half the house sunk. Sunk.
Holy shit.
Do you see what I'm saying? The,
Yep.
the, the, the universe, your home, is trying to show you all of the time if you're going down the wrong direction. It's that simple. They're trying to show you, okay? And they show you by creating resistance. That's what it's all about. If there's resistance, because really, what happens when there's resistance? Or what's supposed to happen when there's resistance? Not necessarily what we do, but what's supposed to happen when you come up against resistance?
We should be stopping and changing
Right. We're supposed
direction.
to stop and think for a second and be like, I mean,
Try something
what would
new.
I, right? What would I think if I showed up at my best friend's house and the door was locked and they knew I was coming? Something's
Yeah, I'd
wrong.
find out what's going on.
Maybe they don't want me here. Did something happen? Right? Like, it's supposed to make you stop and think. So the universe creates, or we create and attract roadblocks, limitations, closed doors to try to get us to stop and think. Okay. And there's a misconception out there, because even when people like me are teaching this, what is typically taught is it's to get you to stop to think so you can ask yourself, is this really what you want? And that's not true. That's a bold-faced lie. Okay. That's not true. If it's something, and this is so important to understand, if it is something we really want, I mean, really, okay? I mean, in our soul, no doubt about it, we want that. There would never be any resistance. Ever. We would never come across resistance, okay? Because we'd be going after it for all of the right reasons, okay?
And that's
If
where
it's
fear
something,
plays in as well.
and that's where fear plays in, right? If it's something that we think we really want, but we're giving ourselves the wrong reasons for why we want it, then there'll be resistance because we're trying to create something for the wrong reasons.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it brings you into today's
Yes.
lesson. Yes, it does.
Yes.
Right? Even if it's something that we believe in everything that we are, and we're going to use your business as an example, okay? Even if it's something we believe in everything that we are, this is what we want, okay? if we're going after it for the wrong reasons, we're going to create resistance. Okay. So I understand in theory, if you were to sit down and talk to 50 psychics out there, I would probably be the only one out of the 50 that you sit and talk to that would be able to say, I stuck a piece of paper on a mailbox, started my business, and was financially solvent the very first month, was able to pay my own bills within 3 months of buying a car. Right? I understand that most people wouldn't say that, especially in my industry. Okay. I understand that most of them would have had to take all kinds of steps and do all kinds of things. And I'd take all kinds of steps and do all kinds of things too. But the truth of the matter is, I started my business by writing out or printing out on a piece of paper my name, readings, and my phone number all across the bottom with little slits on it so people would just rip my phone number off. Right? That's legitimately how I started my business and was able to pay my bills within the first month. So the question comes in, and again, it doesn't mean I didn't take a lot of other steps, and I'm going to teach you those steps because obviously the mailbox wasn't enough to get me successful. It was just enough to get me solvent, right?
Right.
But I'm going to ask you, what was the reason it was so easy for me to get started?
Because you knew that this was the place that you needed to be and that there was no other option. You weren't going to go under any other option.
How did I know this was the place I needed to be?
Oh, that's a good question. That I can't answer.
How do you know this is where you're supposed to be?
Because I feel it in my soul. I don't know how else to explain that.
So why isn't that enough? Because that was a brilliant answer. That was a brilliant answer. And it's the exact same answer I'd have given you because I knew in my soul. Because I knew.
See, and that's when I sent you my homework saying one of the things I'd like to be able to do is read without using my cards. Because I find so often I end up in the most random places talking to people about the most bizarre. I shouldn't know things about these people. I shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? And it's just.
Yeah. Okay.
And I feel so comfortable doing that. Sorry.
Yeah, but just a second. You're sweetheart. I love that you don't want to use your cards. Okay. And the truth of the matter is, before I go any further, your cards are absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, a fucking crutch. Okay. There isn't a reader alive that's actually meant to be a reader that requires cards. I'm going to giggle every time he asks me what tool I use. This. Okay.
Yeah.
There isn't a reader alive that has any ability whatsoever that actually has to use any tool. However, what you need to understand is you coming to this place in your head so soon of I want to be able to work without my cards is you're just trying to create another roadblock.
Oh, hell.
You're just trying to create another roadblock. So first of all, the first thing I'm going to say is stop worrying about whether you're using your cards or you're not using your cards. Okay.
Okay.
You just finished telling me that when you're out and about around random people, you have the most random conversations and things come at you in the most random ways, and you don't have any cards near you. Okay. So we already know that you can do it when you're not around them. So it's not even something to think about.
Good point.
It's not even something to think about. But on top of that, it's also important to remember why you use the cards in the first place. And the whole reason you use the cards in the first place is because you have an easier time believing in the cards than you have believing in Julie. That's what they're there for. So you saying, I want to get to the point that I'm not using my cards anymore is actually you saying, I want to get to the point where I've confirmed and proven to myself that I'm completely fucking incapable of doing this and have no idea what I'm doing, so I don't build my business.
Okay, that's not what I want. But I see what you're saying. I totally see what you're saying, though. Absolutely.
Yeah, which is why you're having the conversation in your head. Because, see, we're bypassing other issues. So as you bypass other issues, you're going to bring out new ones. Okay, it's just how the brain works. You're going to bring out new ones. It's like, oh, okay, well, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? Because your fear is a vicious little personality all of its own, and it will say and do whatever it needs to say and do. Right? It's like that toddler. We've all got them, a few of them in ourselves. That toddler that loves to have temper tantrums, doesn't matter that it doesn't make any sense. They're still going to throw it out, right? And when you say this, they're going to say that. And when you do this, they're going to do that. Like, it's just the way it works, okay? The thing that you need to be able to understand. So first thing I want you to understand is that, yes, you're just trying to create roadblocks for yourself by actually giving a shit, or even saying to yourself for a second, I want to get to the point that I don't have to use the cards. You already know you don't have to use the cards, okay? They're just a crutch. That's all they are, right?
Okay.
So that's the first thing, okay? But the second, but the part, like in this particular lesson that's so important for you to be able to grasp is that if you were doing this for all of the right internal reasons, you'd already be succeeding, right? So how can I say that? I can say that because I've spoken to you enough times to hear you say how much this means to you, how much you want this, how much you love when you're working with people, how much you love helping people. You have fought through a lot of your fears, including your fear of the dyslexia, and actually just started saying whatever's on the top of your head. So you're willing to follow the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that you believe in this. Right? So
Absolutely.
when people would say to me, well, how do I know that? Okay, well, let's just look at the actions. Okay. When we believe in something, just because we cause struggle doesn't mean we don't keep doing it because we believe in it. So we create struggle because of old patterns in our life, not because of the actual scenarios, because that's what we're used to doing, right? God
Okay.
forbid we actually find something that makes us happy. No. Let's create some fucking struggle there because we spent our whole life in a dysfunctionally struggling life, right? So, we spent our whole life being taught to take the hard road, right? But that's not what's getting in your way. Your belief in what you can do, in what you're supposed to do, it's not what's getting in the way. Because that belief is a knowing, right? That's not hoping. Maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, you might have hoped what I was saying was true and you had abilities. You've proven it to yourself.
Yes,
You see where I'm coming from? So that's
I
not a
do.
debate. That part's not a debate. So why are we struggling?
Because I overthink everything and try to worry. I spend too much time worrying about if I should or shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I had conversations with Rick over the last, or like a couple of times over the last couple of weeks that should have been an argument and weren't, because
Okay.
instead of me overthinking it, I just spoke.
Set. Yes. Okay. So yes, I will agree with you that a part of the issue could be that you're overthinking. I don't actually believe that that's the problem, but I could agree with you that there's a possibility.
Okay.
Okay? I could meet you in the middle and say it's maybe a possibility. I actually think it's bigger than that. I think it's bigger than that. And so I'm going to back up for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got out there, one of the reasons that I had to succeed was because I was a new mom, right? So I had to make sure that my child had food on the table, clothes on their back, right? And it doesn't always work this way, but that did work to my advantage. Okay. The reason that it worked to my advantage. So I'm gonna make sure you understand this. One of my reasons for doing what I do for a living was because I had a child support, right? And that's going to sound very similar to what you've said before. Okay. I have a family to take care of. Sounds similar. It's not similar, but it sounds similar. Okay. Now, the reason that it's not similar is because at the time that I used that as my reasoning, it was this child was my dependent and would not have actually survived without me. Okay. Little different. Okay. Now, if I'd have tried to use that as my reasoning when Lee, for an example, was 12, or when Lee was 16 and Kaylin was 9, okay, wouldn't have worked. Wouldn't have worked. And it wouldn't have worked because as much as they were still my dependents and I was responsible to them, they did not require me for survival.
Yeah.
Okay. At the time that I used it to my advantage, my child was 7 months old. Legitimately could not survive if I didn't feed him. See the difference?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, if he was 16 and Kaylin was 9 and God, Ash would have been 18, Dylan would have been 21, Ed would have been 17. I mean, the list, I have a lot of kids, right? But I could, right? I could have used some of that. I could have used some of that sense of responsibility, not all of it, because they could independently take care of themselves. But I could have used some of it and did because I was the sole breadwinner and I always was. Like, I always have been, right? You don't misunderstand me. My husband had a career, he worked for a living, but his income actually paid my assistant. Right? Not he didn't work hard, not he didn't anything. He did. It's just because he was out working, his income had to pay for my assistant. Okay. He was making $45,000 a year compared to me making $245,000 a year. His
Yeah.
income paid my assistant, right? So I was able to use it to some degree because I was, in fact, the provider of the family. So that the truth in that statement, the truth in that energy would have been enough and was enough whenever I needed to sort of increase or, something happened where the kids needed something done to their teeth or the vet needed to be done or, hot water tank or whatever. I could use that as enough energy to push me in to make a little bit more money to pay for all of that because I was the breadwinner, right? All of that is completely different than where you're coming from.
Yes, I'm taken
Okay.
care of.
Well, yes and no, but yes, in the sense that you've never actually
Financially.
had. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yes, in the sense that you've never had to be the breadwinner.
right. That's what I'm
Okay.
trying to get at. Yes.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. You've never had to be the breadwinner. So where the problem comes into play there, okay, because and the reason we're having this conversation today is because you mentioned it in our last class, and you don't realize how you say what you say. Most of us don't realize how we say what we say. Okay.
Oh
But as a
dear.
coach, it's actually my job to notice, right? It's my job to notice the inflections in the tones and the energy that's attached to what we say, right? And when you talked about doing this because it's what you're driven to do and you love to help people and you love to make a difference, there was a resolution there. So I knew that that was absolutely true, right? But then you had said, I want to financially support Rick and the kids so that he can stay at home and do his investing. And when you said that, I believed you. I believed you.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a raise in your tone immediately, which actually meant, whether you realize it or not, that you were focusing and worrying and stressing about your business more because you want to support and take care of Rick than because this is what you want to do. And this is what you're driven to do. This is what you need to do. Okay. Now that all sounds wonderful because it sounds totally altruistic. Okay. Except there's a few issues. The first issue is it's not up to you to figure out what Rick's life is just because you're his spouse. Okay. And it's certainly not up to you to change his contract. Okay. It's up to him to figure that out. But even more importantly than that, if you believed for a second that you were capable of supporting and supplying and taking care of your family financially, Rick would have been a stay-at-home dad a long time ago. Please, Kippy. Would have been. Would have been
Yes,
making
I
an
do agree.
income their whole life.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if he was out there working, which he wouldn't have been, and I'm not judging anybody when I say that. Okay. And I'm definitely not judging Rick. I'm not saying he's not a hard worker. I'm not saying all of those things. Okay. But if there was just enough to cover the bills that you guys had with you working, his ass would have been at home. I don't give a shit who
Yes.
you are. Okay.
Oh no, he absolutely would have been a stay-at-home dad, 100%.
Mm-hmm. So not only do you have to get past yourself and what you believe about you and whether you're worthy to make a difference in people's lives, not only do you have to get past all the things that you've been taught in your life by the dysfunctional people in your life that you're not supposed to have good or better, now you also have to work through the lack of belief that you have in yourself that you're fully capable of providing for your family. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot actually.
Right? Think about how many doors you erected, put up in your reasoning, and added deadbolts and forensic locks and thumbprints and eye scanners and in order for them to open. And the worst part is, Jules, honey, you didn't even put your eye scanner and your thumbprint. We don't even know whose fucking scanner and thumbprint are on those doors. Because you keep trying to put your thumb on it to unlock them and they're not unlocking. So it's not even your prints. You made someone else the gatekeeper.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time allowing other people to be my gatekeepers.
Right. So all you're doing when you say those things is erecting more doors with locks and deadbolts and scanners that you've got to get through. Right? So all you're doing is making something you really want to do and really believe in harder to do.
I want to stop doing that.
Right. Okay. And there are so many aspects to this. Okay. And we're just going to deal with the Rick one for a second.
I'm sorry, I'm going to cry.
You're okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Why are you sorry?
I don't know.
Did you just get frustrated with yourself?
A little bit.
That's a waste of energy. Okay. Because you got to remember, this is a tool that you've been using your entire life to prevent yourself from getting anywhere. Okay. And you got to go deeper than that. And remember, I warned you because this is all going to be public. And I warned you that this was going to go deep, right? There's things that you got, right? But there's things you got to keep in mind and you got to really be honest with yourself about. Okay. So many things. You've got to be honest with yourself about what, if you actually manifested what you told yourself was your ideal outcome, which is you would be the provider of your family and Rick would get to stay home. Okay. Do you actually have any idea what that life looks like?
I think so.
You think so.
Probably not now that you say that.
But you don't actually know. Okay. You know what it's like for him to be home for a little while trying to figure out how to still be the provider because you guys had a little bit of money in the bank and he was taking a chance.
Yes.
You weren't the provider, so he was still making sure things were taken care of. You know what that
Yes.
feels like. Okay. You know what it feels like to be married to a man who takes really good care of you, or in your opinion, takes really good care of you because he's your provider and your caretaker and your protector. Okay. So you know what that looks like. You have no idea
Yes.
what it looks like for a man who's a provider, a caretaker, and a keeper to all of a sudden become irrelevant because his wife makes way more money and he can stay home. I mean, that sounds wonderful, okay? Don't misunderstand me. It sounds wonderful. And if you were to sit and have a conversation with Rick of if he could stay at home for the rest of his life and invest, would he be happy? Hell yes, he would. Okay. But none of that equation actually tells us what he would go through emotionally now that he's a kept man versus a keeping man. Nobody can predict what would happen there.
No. And he is a pretty dominant man.
Right. And nobody would be able to predict what you would turn into. Finally being the provider. Okay. There's things you don't understand. There's things that you accept, things that you put up with, things that you allow because your husband is the provider and the keeper and the caretaker.
Okay.
There's a way that you live when you're not in control of life that is totally and completely different than the way you live when you are in control of life. I'll give you just a little example. I'll give you just a little example so you can grasp what I'm saying, okay? You just got a small inheritance from your mom, okay? And you guys went and had your rings made. So excited for you. Flash them. They're beautiful. Show your rings. Exactly. Beautiful, okay? Let me ask you a question. Before you did that, before you guys had the rings ordered, did you sit and have a conversation with Rick and make sure that it was okay, that the money got spent
Oh,
and
fuck.
make sure that you knew exactly how he felt about it?
Yes, I did.
Of course you did, because he's the provider. So of course you did, honey. Okay? Because you spent your whole life being the last person. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. You spent your whole life being the last person to get things. Okay? So the guilt that you actually went through and the conversations that you had to have, not only with your husband, but I'm sure you did it with your kids too, even though they had nothing to do with fucking inheritance. Okay? I'm sure was long and drawn out. And that doesn't even come close to the guilt you felt even after they all turned around and looked at you and went, yeah, Mom, this is the least you should do. It was your mom's inheritance. Okay?
It's like
So
you
you have to,
know me or
well,
something.
of course I know you. Okay? But now flip the page completely. Flip the page completely. I am the breadwinner. Okay? And don't misunderstand me. Everything in mine and my husband's life is 1,000% equal. Everything's joint. Everything's everything. And I absolutely go to my husband and ask his opinion about big purchases. No doubt about it. But do you think I do it the same way you do?
No, I don't. Asking somebody's opinion is a whole different concept than asking for permission.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what I did. And Rick
That is
actually gave me
exactly.
shit for it.
I'm not even giving you a hard time. I'm not even giving you a hard time. Okay? I understand why you asked permission. You have been provided for your entire life. You've always asked for permission. Okay?
Yes.
Totally understand it. But when you become successful in your own rights, we don't. Okay? You and the reason I'm using this inheritance as an example is because it is a prime example. It was not extra money from a bonus at Rick's work, or you guys have been saving for a long time. Okay? It was your biological mom's inheritance. Legitimately, if there was ever a time in your life that money was your money versus our money, it was that moment.
That's exactly what he's. That's where he, like, because when I sat
Of
down and
course, it's
talked to him,
what
it
he
was a
says.
big, yeah, it was a big conversation.
And of course, that's what he said. Okay. But you've got to understand, if that is your reaction when it was legitimately your money, legitimately, and none of this is about ours. And yes, I get it. You guys are married. You have a family. Of course, it's ours. Blah 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 blah. Okay. I'm not judging any of that. That's the conversation you had when it was yours.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have built this entire marriage and your entire life on being the submissive last one first. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You have a good life, you have a good marriage, you have great kids. No judgment when I say that. Okay. But not only in order to get to where you want to go, which you say is to be able to support your husband financially and your children financially, who are all almost all adults, also for the record, which can make that a little bit more of an issue, even though it's a little different in your house because that doesn't really hold the same equation as it does in my house. My kids are adults, it's get the fuck out. Your kids are adults, it's let's build another room. Totally understand. Totally understand we did it differently. Totally cool. Okay. But not only do you have to get past your belief system in yourself, your belief system in what you're capable of, because if you actually believed you were capable of making the income, you'd already be making it, and you and your husband and your family would be living a much higher quality of life. Okay. It's not like people like to struggle.
No.
Okay. So they only struggle financially because they think that's what they have to live with, not because it's what we enjoy. Right.
Yes.
really is a TV show when a millionaire gets given $100 and has to go become a millionaire all over again. It's a freaking TV show. It's not real, right? We don't live that way if we think we can live differently. Okay? If we think we can upgrade, we upgrade. Okay? So not only do you have to get past how you feel about yourself and the conversations that you have with yourself, now you've just added all of these extra doors because then you got to get past what you think about being a provider, which if you believed you could be, you already freaking would be. Then you got to get past the fears and insecurities that you don't even know you have. You don't even know you have.
Oh, that sucks considering I know my fears and insecurities already are abundant. Never mind.
But there are so many you don't even know you have.
Oh,
Okay? You have no idea how you'll react the first time your husband has a fit because he's now being taken care of even though he enjoys it. You have no idea the insecurities that might take place inside of you because he doesn't see his purpose and you're not being taken care of the same way anymore and you're not available the same way that you used to be and you don't take care of everything. Because I'd love to tell you, honey, that you can be his full-time caretaker and his provider. It's a bold-faced lie. It's a fucking lie.
yeah,
I'd
I
love
will
to tell
not
you
be
you
able
can
to
do
give
it.
that.
None of us can.
No.
Okay. And in this particular industry, okay, in this particular industry, I can't talk about every other industry because I've never created a successful business in every other industry. But in this particular industry, I can tell you that in order to be successful in this particular industry, it takes an awful lot of your energy and devotion. So, frankly, how I make my own cup of tea is I ask my husband for a freaking cup of tea. Now, I understand I'm spoiled, a little bit of a princess. I do grasp this. My husband takes exceptional care of me, but that's why he takes exceptional care of me because outside of him loving me, because what I do is exceptionally draining.
Now, it's also in your manifesting in your world,
Yes.
is it not?
Yes. Of
You're
course.
attracting that. So
Of
if
course.
right, okay, I just want to make sure that I'm on the right page with this
Yes.
concept that it's not just the one hand and the other. It's you're
No.
attracting that to you, no different
Yes.
than Brian's attracting to him
Of course.
his life. Okay,
Thousand
just want to
percent.
make sure I'm
I 1,000% attracted, needed, and required a partner who would take care of my every move and still let me, without any insecurities whatsoever, be the person on the stage, without a doubt.
and Brian's never had an issue with that at all.
Never. Nope. And he attracted someone who could take care of everything because that wasn't anything he liked. He didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. He's actually a lot like Rick. He didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. He's a very dominant man, knows how to take care of people, but had no idea what he wanted to do with his life. Right? So, talk about a perfect scenario for him. He gets to have a really great quality life and he gets to do what he absolutely loves, which is take care of the people that he loves. Right? He did great at it. And he's never wanted to be center stage. As a matter of fact, when people look at him, he always looks at me and is like, what are you looking at? I don't love you. Like, he doesn't want people to notice him. Right? Like, even when I am in center stage and there's thousands of people in the audience, he's in the back where it's all black and no one can see him, making sure I have everything I need. Doesn't want to be seen.
Yeah.
Right? So, yes, we absolutely, and it works out great for us. Works out great for us. Okay? But we created it this way from the beginning. It was clear from the beginning, right?
Yeah,
Before
that
we
was
ever
not
met,
clear for
I was
us.
exactly, before we ever met, I was the provider.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm not saying, and this is so important to understand, I'm not saying don't build your business because it's going to cause issues in your marriage. That's not at all what I'm saying.
No.
I'm not. Okay. Like even remotely. And the truth is it won't cause issues in your marriage. Okay. And the reality is you could absolutely get to the point that you're so successful that he could be at home and invest. And if it's all done the right way and it's all done because this is what Julia really wants to do and she's doing it for all the right reasons and she's managing to get rid of those doors because she's got an entire 20-mile circumference of locked scan doors that she can't fucking get through. Okay. The two of you could have a wonderful life. Okay. But the truth is, you don't want to be Rick's provider. It doesn't mean you wouldn't provide for him if you had the money. Okay. It's not what it means. It means it's not your goal to be the family provider. It's your goal to be the family caretaker. It was my goal to be the provider.
I get that. That's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference. Huge difference. Okay? Now, that's first side. The other side is I have a very expensive list of requirements in my life. You do not. Okay? So using money in any way, shape, or form as a reason for you to be successful in your business is a roadblock. See, me using money is not a roadblock because I have a very high maintenance lifestyle. I've always had a very high maintenance lifestyle. I had a high maintenance lifestyle way before I met Brian. Okay, I was driving
Yeah.
brand new cars and living in nice places way before I met my husband.
Yeah, I do
Had the
not have a high maintenance
rings,
lifestyle.
had the nails, had the hair appointments every month. Hell, I didn't even do laundry. When me and my kids ran out of clothes, I went and bought more. If it wasn't for my mom coming to do the laundry would never get done. I'd throw it out and go buy more. I didn't care. I didn't care. Right? Totally different. Totally different. So I can use money as one of my deciding forces because it's not one of my roadblocks. Not because I'm entitled to more money than you or I get to live better than you. It's not one of my roadblocks.
Right.
Okay?
Where it
One of you.
absolutely is for mine,
Right.
100%.
Exactly. So we can't use it. See, it's one of the mistakes we make and the things that we go forward to do. We use our roadblocks as our reason to prevent us from doing it in the first place. And we don't even know that we're doing that. Okay? How do I know you're doing it? Because there's something getting in the way. So I know you're doing it because you're not busy.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely it does. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to tell you the other reason I know. The other reason I know is because I got immediate proof when I finally talked you into going and doing TikTok and you got 1,700 views and were ecstatic. That's where I got the final proof. And do you know how I got the final proof that way?
No, I don't.
Because you got 1,700 likes on something you're convinced you can't make any money at. You got 1,700 likes on TikTok on one video, and you absolutely believed, because when I looked at you and said, go join TikTok, you looked at me and went, we're Canadians. We can't make any money on TikTok. Now, granted, I gave you the don't fucking throw that at me. There's always ways to make money, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Doesn't mean that stuck with you. The reason that you're doing well on TikTok is because you can't get paid. So it's not a roadblock.
Well, son of a bitch. That's not funny. Don't laugh at me. Oh my God.
Literally poured my coffee everywhere.
Well, I'm glad I bring you amusement.
But
Oh my
here's the
God.
thing. Here's the thing. It's not a roadblock because you already have a belief system you can't get paid on it. So it's not something to get in the way. If you'd have believed for a second that you could have made money off TikTok, you'd have gotten 7 links. Because it's your roadblock. It's not the world's roadblock. It's not the universe's roadblock. It's not your destiny is to be poverty stricken your entire life. It's your belief system. It's your belief system that's getting in the way. Okay? So how do we succeed? We don't use our roadblocks as our reasons to succeed.
Okay. So money is
That's simple.
definitely not one of my,
No,
or not a reason. I remember being a
no.
kid and
Now
growing up, and
here's
my
the
dad,
thing.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish what you're saying.
Oh, I was just going to say that I remember being a kid and my dad always looking at me and saying, as long as I had $20 in my pocket, I could get home anywhere from this in the city in a cab, and that $20 is all I needed to make me safe. So as long as I had a little tiny bit of money in my pocket, and that's the only reason for money is just to make sure you're safe. Well, I'm safe.
Right. Right. So let's not make money a part of the equation because you have not been taught that money's a good reason. Okay. You have not had it proven to you or proven to yourself over and over and over again that money is a good reason. Okay. Money actually holds zero relevance to you. I can tell you that right now because In your and your husband's financial situation your entire life, the two of you should not be doing so well together. One of the biggest reasons divorces happen on this fucking planet is because of money.
Well, and we had some major strikes against us. We shouldn't be together still, and not only
Right.
together but happy.
Exactly. So we know for sure that money isn't in the equation. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't mean you won't make money. Doesn't mean you won't make money, because I'm teaching you that everything has to have an energetic exchange.
Right.
Energy is energy, okay? And we want to get you to the point that you simply see money as energy. And once we actually get you to the point that you, without a shadow of a doubt, see and perceive money as simple energy and currency, okay, you will do very well financially. Everybody will, as soon as they
Okay.
actually grasp it, okay? So we're not saying you need to go become the next Gandhi who, let's face it, had money, even though everybody claims he didn't, because you don't live on nothing, even if he wasn't eating, okay? He was still living on the top of a nice big temple, right?
Yep.
We're not saying you need to be the next Gandhi, okay? What we're saying is you can't use the things you don't believe in and the things that you struggle with to build the thing you do believe in, because that is like a construction worker using a hair dryer to put up drywall.
Yep.
Don't work,
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't work.
right? So the conversation needs to change, because the whole reason you've attached money to it is so that you don't succeed, not so that you do.
Okay, so how
Because
do I
you already
change
know,
that?
money doesn't matter to you. Okay. Stop even bringing money into the equation. You stop
Okay.
with the ideas in your head that you want to financially support your husband, that you want to make sure that your children are taken care of. Okay. Because you are going to fight with that constantly. You do take care of your children. You take care of your children all of the time. You've taken care of them their whole lives. You're a freaking homeschool mom, for Christ's sake. You take care of them 24 hours a day, 7 days a damn week. Okay.
Yes.
You take care of your husband constantly. So, telling yourself that you now need to financially be responsible for them because you're not taking care of them enough is also a slap in the face of everything that you've already done for them.
And that's why it feels so overwhelming.
Exactly. Exactly. What you want to do is make a difference in people's lives.
Yes.
Okay. And
Truly.
what you do want, Julie, is you want it to go slow. Yes. Do we all say we want to be so busy we don't know what to do with ourselves and can make a huge difference? And we do. Okay. And in my world, that's perfectly acceptable because I have somebody taking care of everything. But in your world, if you woke up one day and were so busy you didn't know what to do with yourself and could all of a sudden financially support your family, what you wouldn't be able to do is take care of your damn family. And which would be harder?
That, not taking care,
Right.
not being there for my family, it would kill me.
And which would you give up first?
I would give up my career
Exactly.
without a doubt. Yeah. I see
Exactly.
what you're saying.
Now, your soul knows that.
Yep.
Your intuition knows that. Your guides know that. So, what possibly makes you think they're going to jump you out and get you so busy you don't know what to do with yourself? What possibly makes you think they're going to do that? There's no way.
Yep. That actually makes a lot of sense because the day that you put out, when I was doing the class with you and you had put out she needs some readings just to be able to do, my phone went off so much. I actually had to give it to Rick and I went and cried.
Exactly.
It was so overwhelming. And I mean,
Exactly.
it started off really exciting.
Sure.
And then it was scary and then it was
Yeah.
overwhelming and now I
Exactly.
walked away from it and it was just like I can't.
Exactly. So, stop telling yourself that you need to,
Okay.
because all you're doing is creating roadblocks. The truth of the matter is, you got to be honest with yourself about your real reason for doing this, because your real reason is not about money. If it was about money, you'd give it up in a heartbeat. Okay. My reasons for being in my business, as much as money plays a factor, is not the core reason. And the truth is, I won't give up my career for anything or anyone, because it's not my job. It's who I am. Does
Mhm.
that make
I get the
sense?
difference. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And the
100%.
rest of my life has to become a part of it too. So not only does my career have to become a part of the rest of my life, the rest of my life has to become a part of my career because they're all entwined together.
Whereas what
Does that
I'm
make
trying to
sense?
do is set aside a little tiny space
Right.
and not allow them to be together.
Right. And what I'm saying is you need to change your reasoning to what the real reason is, which is you want to make a difference and help people.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And that you really, really, as you start to build yourself up, would be a whole lot more comfortable with one session a day, maybe 2 sessions a day, a few times a week, than being so busy you could financially support your family, because that would just overwhelm the hell out of you.
Yeah, if I got booked 20 hours a week right now immediately, it would be a lot. It would be a lot. A lot.
You'd be a wreck. You'd be a wreck, honey,
Yeah.
because that's not what you want. Okay. Just like, you know, I'm big on timers and the clock, and that's because I could go for hours and hours and hours. And yes, I want to make a significant difference. And yes, there's times that I take a little longer because I certainly won't stop somebody in the middle of a breakdown and go, I'm sorry, our time's up. But, for me, time is money. Okay. For you, time is help.
Okay. That makes
Right.
sense.
So you've also got to think about how you want to develop this business, because you keep telling yourself that you want to develop it, and the answers that you keep giving are my answers, not your answers. They're the answers of your teacher. If I was to be asked those questions, why would I build this business? Those are my answers. And they're accurate because I don't have those roadblocks. They're not your answers. Okay? It's not your answer. The truth is, you don't want to be recognized everywhere. You'd really rather go and spend time with your family and have nobody even notice you. Okay? I do actually want to be recognized everywhere. I have an ego. I'm well aware of what it fucking is. Okay? I am center stage. Okay? The truth is, I do. Not only would you like, I expect to make a lot of money. You don't. Okay? You would just like life to be a little easier. Your attachment to money is about life being a little easier. See the difference?
Yeah, I do. I do.
So in our first session, I was talking to you about branding, and I'm going to talk a lot more about that throughout your business. The first thing that you need to understand about branding is your reasons why. Because the type of business that you want to build here is you. You are your business. You.
Okay.
So your reasons why are a part of your brand.
Well,
Does that
yeah,
make
my
sense?
biggest reason is definitely to be able to reach out and help people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And believing or getting to the point that you believe that you could help your family out a bit financially is not a tough thing for you to believe. Helping your
No,
family out a bit is not a tough thing to believe. Being the
that's easy.
financial supporter,
Oh, I can
see the
feel that
difference?
actually. Yeah, I can feel that get tight in my chest even.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
absolutely see
You're
the difference there.
you're not looking to measure yourself up in success the same way that I do. So don't try to.
Okay.
Okay. And that's what I want you to think about over this next week. I want you to really think about your actual reasons, not the reasons you're telling yourself. Okay. Not the roadblocks and doors that you're putting up like wildfire. Okay. Your actual reasons. And based on those reasons, what kind of schedule, what kind of success do you want to start creating so that you can still be the caretaker, the wife, the
The teacher.
mom, the teacher, and get to bring this in too to make a difference in other people's lives, which will feed you and fuel you emotionally and energetically and make life a little easier on your family because we're not as worried every time we go grocery shopping or the rent is due.
Right. That
See
makes
where I'm coming
sense.
from?
I do 100%.
Right. Because you keep saying you want to be busy, and the universe keeps saying you couldn't handle being busy if it freaking jumped up and bit you. And you keep saying you want to make a financial difference for your family, and the universe keeps looking at you going, you don't actually care about money, so that can't be true. And all you're doing is creating these roadblocks when in reality you could do the 2 to 6 sessions a week that you actually want to do and do really well and get to the point that you get so good that you just start charging more for your 6 sessions a week and never actually have to upgrade them and be super successful, and you guys could have a totally different life.
Yeah, I absolutely see what you're saying. That's a totally different way to look at it. And it makes a lot of sense.
Good. Because that's your homework.
I can definitely do that. Absolutely. Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Did not see this coming at all.
Of course not, because we don't actually, God, my cat's annoying. We don't actually realize the roadblocks that we're creating. And this is so important to understand, because if we did actually know that we were creating these roadblocks, we'd do everything not to. Okay. It really is a myth out there that we're all suckers for punishment. We're not actually suckers for punishment. We hate punishing ourselves. We hate being punished by other people. We actually hate it. Okay. We really do want life to be easy. We don't actually believe that if it's hard, we shouldn't do it. It's just all the programming that we've been taught. Okay. So we don't intentionally create these roadblocks. Right? Which is the other reason why I would say to you that the last thing you should be doing is beating yourself up that you created the roadblocks, because the only time that you should ever beat yourself up is when you do something intentionally.
Yeah, this was not intentional.
Of course not. If I intentionally cut somebody off on the road while driving, I'm an asshole. Okay? If I was oblivious and accidentally cut somebody off because I wasn't paying attention properly, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me an asshole. It makes me a what's the word? Distracted driver.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Absolutely, there is. Yeah,
Right?
100% I
Just
do.
because everybody else out there would say, well, even distracted assholes or drivers are assholes because they should be on the road if they're distracted, which then, of course, then makes me laugh, because you go ahead and tell me that every time everybody gets behind the wheel of the car, they're paying attention. Give me a break, right?
Yeah.
But the difference
Whatever.
is, exactly, but the difference is intentional and unintentional, okay?
Yeah.
We intentionally make enough mistakes in our lives that we can beat ourselves up for. The last thing we need to do is beat ourselves up for the unintentional ones.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
If you won't beat up your friend, your spouse, your child, or even a stranger for an accident, for something they didn't intend to do, the last thing you should do is beat yourself up. So don't beat yourself up. Okay? You said it to yourself for the right reasons. See, this is the thing you got to understand. You said it to yourself for the right reasons. You thought it would be a good motivator. Provide my friend. Sounds like a good motivator, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like what everybody should want?
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean it's
Doesn't
true.
mean it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's your homework. Now you can go check on your husband and see how he's doing.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And actually, before we jump off, I want to ask you a question, but not for the class.
Okay.
So I'll get you to stop
I'm
recording
gonna
first.
stop record and then you can ask me. So just give me a
Okay.
second.